Hello, my fellow movie fans, and welcome to another episode of A Feast of Films Theater with your hosts, Ethan R. Hill, Matthew Ayalew, and Jesse Prosser. Yeah, just like that, right?
Oh, classic.
That was my line, yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh, you're fired. Hello, my fellow movie fans, and welcome to another episode of A Feast of Films. My name is Ethan R. Hill, and with me is...
Jesse Prosser.
And I'm Matt Ayalew, as always, with my definitely deep voice.
Oh, wow. That was a seamless impression of Matt.
Yep, I'm Matt Ayalew. I don't know what you meant by an impression. I'm the real deal. Yep, rip-a-doo. That's what I say all the time.
You should put like a Matt sock puppet in the beginning of the video. Just for laughs, really.
I don't know what you mean by sock puppet. I'm the real Matt. That's what I say. I'm Matt Ayalew.
Oh boy.
Totally here to give my opinion on things.
Oh Jesus. Right. Yeah, welcome to A Feast of Films, everybody. We're gonna have ourselves a grand old time talking about nostalgia on this particular occasion.
Oh boy, I love nostalgia as Matt Ayalew.
Matt, go home, you're drunk.
I'm not drunk, I'm not here. I mean, I'm all here.
Oh, Jesus. Oh.
Roll the dog, go home then. I'll see you guys later. Glad I could be here for the opening. Goodbye.
Oh, goodbye, Matt. Bye. Everyone say bye to Matt.
I will as soon as I get my voice back.
Whew. Turned to Ghostface there for a minute.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Let's just both talk like Ghostface the rest of the show.
With the amount of shouting I did and that terrible Matt impression, I don't think I can.
Boy.
I don't know what you're talking about. I thought Matt was right here with us.
Nope, I left the room. I'm far away now.
We need to get Matt to actually do that next time he's on.
Unfortunately, Matt is off to do some awesome radio work and have a good time on the weekend.
100%.
And our schedule has been wonky because of work, so here we are, recording on a night that we don't normally record, just the two of us, because we are terrible at coordinating a 3-person event.
That's right, Ethan. But on this occasion, we're gonna push through it and talk about some interesting things tonight, I think.
Don't mess up, guys. I'll see you later.
Bye, Matt.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Really committing to this bit.
Apparently.
It's after I admit that this is just a bit. And it's yeah, like...
Now that, oh man, I can't, you totally fooled everybody, I think.
But with the truth, I misled them and confused them.
Yes.
Yes.
That's half the fun.
And that sounded exactly like Matt.
Oh, yeah. But you know...
Pitch perfect duplicate.
But you know, all this talk of Matt Ayalew gets me nostalgic for the old days of Feast of Films before I wasn't on it.
Those were the good days.
Oh, yes. And I think that's a brilliant topic for today is...
The old episodes of A Feast of Films?
Yes, we're going to do a clip show.
Could you imagine? Like should we seriously do a clip show at some point?
That would be amazing.
Like when we have time, just like
go back through and like pick like a best of type.
And like we could do it afterwards too. Like we could literally like. I know I'm pitching this on the show. But
has anybody done a clip show
of a podcast?
A clip show episode of a podcast before?
Just like, oh man, remember that time when we talked about that thing?
Roll the clip. Oh man, it would make editing so easy.
But think of all the fishing we'd have to do.
Oh god. I could probably find some stuff pretty easily. Wouldn't be too difficult. So stay tuned for episode
something.
For the clip show edition of A Feast of Films. It's gonna be great.
And then we could do a fake clip show.
For all those young people in the audience, a clip show is when
There are clip shows that happen in new shows, man.
Are there?
Yeah.
Is this still a thing?
I'm pretty sure it's a thing.
Like, because it feels like a very like old school sitcom-y thing to do, where they just like ran out of money, so one of the episodes is just clips from older episodes.
It's not even just a sitcom-y thing. Dramas would do it too.
Really?
I'm pretty sure Supernatural did it.
Did they?
I'm pretty sure they did.
I think they did a joke. Well, they do like The Road So Far, which
I feel
is
like X-Files did it.
I don't know.
I feel like clip shows aren't just a comedy thing.
Like I know Community does an entire episode where they take the piss out of the concept and they just
I want to see all those episodes.
right.
I would take a season of all those clips.
100%. That would be amazing. We just slot it in instead of season 4. And then Community would be perfect.
Yes, I mean it is pretty perfect as is.
Indeed.
Clip show. Let's see. Clip show. Clip show is an episode of television series that consists primarily of experts from previous episodes.
Oh wow.
Variations. Company. The Simpsons. Cheers did one.
Of course, Cheers did one. Cheers is like
Avatar: The Last Airbender technically did one.
Did they? I'm trying to remember what episode that was.
It's technically the stage performance one.
Oh right. Well, that one was just fun. Like,
right? I swear there's like there's some more serious shows.
Oh no,
that
you
did
might be
this.
thinking in that case you might be thinking of the theatrical performance of Supernatural.
No.
Supernatural the musical. On the road so far, we are in Dad's car.
Stargate apparently did a clip show. So clip episodes totally exist. So those are a thing, and we're gonna.
But is it really like? Is it a thing that like exists in a lot of modern shows just because of the way that they operate now, where they're like these
I thought
long ass
Brooklyn
movies?
Nine-Nine did one too for some reason.
Well, Brooklyn Nine-Nine just has cutaways to like older shows, and sometimes those cutaways will be clips from older episodes. So like it's kind of just built into the formula of that show.
Well, you know what? Simba.
Either way, we ended up explaining the concept of clip shows anyway.
Either who.
Yeah.
So are you now nostalgic for clip shows?
Kind of. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's a funny idea.
They're always the episodes too where I'm like, I'm gonna skip this, and then I never skip it.
Because it's always good clips from the show, and you're just like, you know what? Oh.
It was like YouTube before YouTube, you know?
Mm-hmm. Just remind people, like, oh, right, syndicated television.
Oh, yes, I forgot about syndication.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that thing from, like, 2 seasons ago that I haven't watched because I have a life.
Oh, man. But, man, what got you thinking about nostalgia?
Well, it's, we were having a conversation, I believe it was in regards to the
Was it the newest Ghostbusters?
I was getting to it.
Oh, man, I love the newest Ghostbusters. I
you
needed to
now?
say it before you said it, because I love that movie. Holy crap, I really liked that movie.
I thought it was really good.
I cried.
I almost cried. I didn't because
I successfully cried.
well, I'm
more of a person than you.
I'm so proud of you.
You should be.
Bawling like a child.
I bawled like a man.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
It was very heartwarming, heartbreaking, so good. Just so good, and it felt like the proper Ghostbusters movie that we should have gotten.
about 10, 20 years ago.
Well, no, everybody knows the proper Ghostbusters 3 is the video game.
No, that's the in canon one. I'm talking about like man, it was so good. And like the problem that I think me and you both are having right now is we keep seeing people online complaining about it being like it's playing into nostalgia. It leans too much into nostalgia.
Yep. You mean exactly what they wanted based on the reactions from the last movie?
Well, you see, but the problem was the last movie, there was no nostalgia. Now this one, there's too much nostalgia.
All right, yes.
But like, what is nostalgia, and where does the line get drawn? Because to me, watching this movie, there was nothing preying on nostalgia.
To me, there was one thing within the story, and like it's in the trailers. It's like the little Stay Puffs that are in the film. And don't get me wrong, the way they use them within the context of the story is fun and enjoyable. But to me, it's like I don't understand why they need to be little Stay Puffs.
I liked them. I didn't care.
Or like again,
And it's not like I sat there and was like, "Oh man, look, it's that thing from the first movie." I was just like, "Oh, this is fun." Like those little things, those Stay Puffs could have been anything.
Mm-hmm.
They picked something recognizable to the franchise, and I don't think that's them feeding into nostalgia necessarily.
Yeah.
I think that's just, it's a connectivity thing. And I think the problem, especially with a lot of these sequel, soft reboot things, is there's a difference between, like, playing on nostalgia and preying on that specifically.
Yeah.
And just having things that would logically make sense to be in the next chapter of the movie.
No, exactly.
And that's where I think you're right. Like, if you wanted to call out something for not being that, the Stay Puff would be that. But everything else, when people are like, oh, the car's in the movie, and the weapons are in the movie, and
it's like, yeah,
you know, this thing is this from this movie, and it's like...
Yeah, it's almost as if it's a sequel to Ghostbusters about the ancestors of a Ghostbuster, you know? Like, it's, like, those are things that just would be in the movie if you want to tell a story about them discovering the Ghostbusters. Because literally what the movie is about is ultimately, like, rediscovering this thing that happened years ago and finding out that it's happening again, you know?
Well, discovering your family is a big thing, right? Like, there's a lot of themes that are in it that aren't just preying on nostalgia. Yeah. And, like, Ready Player One also gets that, too. Like, it gets crapped on for that, too, where it's like, oh, it's a nostalgia fest.
But also, like...
But that's, like, the point of the story.
Yes. The point of the story is that the real world is a complete crappy place to exist.
So everyone lives digitally in the past. Like, they live in this idea of what was the peak of humanity, which was the 80s for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So they escape to that. So, like, if the movie is about nostalgia, you're gonna have nostalgia in it. And that's where it gets weird when people complain about, like, look at all the characters in it. Look at all the characters in it. Well, yeah, it makes sense for Ready Player One. Mm-hmm. Space Jam 2, as much as I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Just going off the trailer, that was something that was preying off of nostalgia.
Well, because don't they literally use clips from older movies in the movie?
I have no idea.
Like that's something I heard that they do, like digitally impose, like Roadrunner and like all those guys. They digitally impose them into older films from the WB catalog.
I don't think that's preying on nostalgia as much as like that's inserting characters into that, but like just having the characters from other franchises just appear in crowd shots.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like, again, the movie's a Looney Tune movie.
Yeah.
It should be nostalgic as is.
Yeah, like, you don't need to add a whole bunch of other franchises into it.
Why is the Iron Giant... the Iron Giant makes sense in Ready Player One.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense in a Space Jam movie.
Yeah. Why, like, how many people going to Space Jam are going to be nostalgic for the Clockwork Orange gang?
I mean, I know I am.
Yeah, right? Always nostalgic for a little ultra-violence.
Yes.
But no, it's like, to me, there is a big difference between a movie where it's like, the whole point is, we're gonna fill with all the things that, like, they're gonna make you want to see this movie because it's that thing I recognize, and earning those things within your narrative because they would just make sense for them to be there.
Well, and it's like I know Matt wants to talk about this topic, so I'm not going to get into it much. But it's like it's kind of how I'm feeling with like the new Spider-Man movie coming up.
Yeah.
Bringing back all the old villains feels like it's a nostalgia play rather than it feels like a good story. But that's just my opinion, and we'll get into that more when Matt can be present for that episode, because I know he
100%.
wants to talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I'm at with that. And there's a lot of things that come out these days. It's all the movies that are getting released, like especially the horror movies that are getting released that are just like the same title as the movie that they came out with, but in the new year for it. Like, and it just feels like that's preying on nostalgia rather than creating something new and unique, you know?
Well, it's like, as much as I enjoyed it, I don't know why the new Halloween had to just be called Halloween. Just to add to the confusion, because you got the original Halloween, you got Rob Zombie's Halloween, and now the new one's just Halloween. So you got 3 movies within this franchise that are just called Halloween. 2 that are called Halloween 2. So, like, you just give it a subtitle. It's easy. And then you save the confusion.
Wait, there's 2 that are Halloween too?
There's Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Oh, right, I guess so.
Yeah. Like, if you're including the remakes in with the whole franchise.
So yeah, three Halloweens.
Yes. No, exactly.
And like, and that's again, it's another form of nostalgia because it's people are gonna see, oh, that title of this movie that I remember watching when I was 13 that scared the crap out of me. Let's go see that again.
Yeah. Well, it'd be like if the new Matrix movie just called itself The Matrix, it'd be like, okay.
I feel like that's probably a
That was
conversation.
mostly, 100% it would have been, but like, I like that it's just resurrection, like, keeping with the theme of what the sequels were titled, you know?
I'm very concerned about that movie, but that's just me.
Yeah, like, I am cautiously optimistic for it, like, because, again, it's been in development for so damn long. But then again, so was the new Bill and Ted movie, so who knows? But to me, it's like, if you look at something like that, and then you compare it to, like, how, like, the new Blade Runner handles being a sequel to the original. Like,
the new Blade Runner didn't feel like the old Blade Runner.
no, not at all.
Like, it was such a different movie, but it works as a sequel to what that movie was.
Yeah, like, it basically, it takes the themes of that original movie and, like, a lot of the concepts, like, again, like, Ryan Gosling's character being an updated version of, like, replicants, and they've gotten further along. Like, it feels like the world has aged another 30 years, and, like, how much more destroyed and rotten out this society has become as a result of the things that have happened within the world. And really, it doesn't start giving you things from that original movie until you're well into the 3rd act. And even then, like...
No, I'd say the 2nd act.
2nd act. Well, I guess, yeah, like, because they start talking about Rachel and all that. But to me, that's part of the, like, the mystery of what Kay is trying to uncover is directly linked to that original movie. And at that point, they're kind of paying it off. Because, again, like, you didn't need to have Harrison Ford in the new Blade Runner to have that story work.
Not at all.
No, but when they have him in the movie, and the way they used him works, and they've earned it at that point. You know? Like, at that point, the movie was its own movie and doing perfectly fine on its own, didn't need it, and then adds on top of it, oh man, we're seeing Deckard again. He's got the car, and he's got the gun, because it would make sense if he ran away that he would still have the car and the gun.
Yes, kind of. It's always weird to me when movies do that, though, where it's like, oh, and this person has the exact same stuff that they had 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's the same reason I have an issue with episode 3 and then episode 4.
Oh, yeah.
It's because it's like, we are all prepped and ready, and everything is set up exactly to go from episode 3 to episode 4.
Nothing interesting happened in the next 20 years.
And it's kind of the same thing for that. Like Deckard having the exact same things doesn't make sense necessarily. Like it does, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the question: is has he been on the run or has he just been in hiding?
Well, a little bit of like initially he was on the run, and then he's just been hiding out in irradiated Las Vegas because nobody goes there. So if he'd just been chilling out for that many years, like he would just be sitting there, you know.
How is he not irradiated?
Because he's Harrison Ford.
It's not a reason.
Actually, I'm trying to remember what the reason was in the movie, but the most I know is like the outside of Las Vegas is kind of like a wasteland type of deal. I'm trying to remember if like within the limits. No, I think yeah, he does a test and like within the limits it's like minimal amounts of radiation. So, but to me it's like that is a sequel that like is very much its own movie and then introduces new like the like stuff from the original in a way that makes sense. And that to me is kind of how you should do a sequel in a lot of ways, like kind of tell a new story but still having those elements from that original film to keep that continuity going.
When I say that's why people are liking the new Candyman.
I've heard mostly positive stuff about the new Candyman. I haven't seen it yet. Like just based on what I've seen, it looks like it's trying to tell its own story.
It's telling a new story in the Candyman universe.
Yeah.
It's a sequel. That's kind of the idea. And I feel for a lot of these franchises that people are nostalgic for, that's the way to go instead of just trying to remake them from the ground up.
Exactly. Well, because there was that glut of remakes that they did of like a lot of the slasher films in the early 2000s.
Well, they're doing them again.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's like, would you want to see a remake of Jaws or just another Jaws movie?
I mean, I'll be honest. I would rather neither of those things. But
if you had to choose between like a Jaws movie set in the same universe where Chief Brody fought and killed that first Jaws.
I mean, unfortunately, we're in the dark timeline where we don't have what is it, Jaws 9? What is it? What's the one in Back to the Future?
That's like Jaws 23, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like we unfortunately haven't made enough Jaws sequels to get to our quota for that. So I would say a Jaws 5 just so we can keep it going. Although, isn't there a movie called Jaws 5?
Yes, there's a movie called Jaws 5.
That has nothing to do with Jaws?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Jaws 19.
Jaws 19. Okay, we got like 15 more to go here. So we got to get cranking them out. So I would say Jaws 5. Because in reality, like, you could do a new adaptation of the book of Jaws, but like
But the only things that are missing are the things that wouldn't work.
Like the mob plot and
psychic connection to Shark.
Yep, and Hooper and Brody's wife having an affair. Like all that stuff to me, like, yeah, sure you could do that, but like, why would you? Well, it's like you could do a new adaptation of The Godfather, but why would you?
If you wanted to do the next chapter in the Corleone family,
yeah,
okay, cool.
Yeah, like,
and that's kind of what Godfather 3 was supposed to be.
Yeah,
and then it just turned into Old Man Michael Corleone.
Yes. So like, oh, these kids are weird. Let's go back to old Pacino.
No, these cousins. Why are these cousins doing things?
That movie is so weird. And the new cut of the movie doesn't make it much better.
No, it didn't change a thing.
It's still weird and still structurally not that great.
Oh, you know what was a good one though? Rocky.
Oh yeah, like I recently saw the director's cut, the ultimate director's cut of Rocky 4. And man, after seeing some of the stuff that got cut from that original movie, like, it's still got some issues that are like just inherent to what Rocky 4 is as a movie. And by issues, I mean the amazing stuff that is Rocky 4. But when you compare it like to the rest of the franchise, the director's cut Stallone did feels more in line with those original movies. And like
those first three at least.
Yeah.
And Creed.
Oh, 100%. Like a lot of there's a lot more character moments especially for characters who were underserved in that original movie. There's a lot less Paulie, but that's because, they cut the robot out, so, like, what can you do? And it is a little weird that they start with, like, 9 minutes of Rocky 3, but, like, with the way they structure the movie now, it kind of makes sense.
Right.
But overall, like, that's the thing where, like, Stallone revisited a movie he did many years ago and kind of got to do a new take on it and actually show some of the stuff that, in my opinion, if it was in the movie originally, it would have worked a little bit better. But it wasn't necessarily the movie they were trying to make at the time, because that movie ended up getting turned into a weird, like, political statement,
And it was still there.
Oh, yes. But now there's more nuance to the Russian characters.
But if I could change, you could change, and capitalism wouldn't be a thing anymore. Communism? I don't know. I don't know which side they fall on.
I don't know. I've been punched a lot this evening.
I have. Proster's punched me in the head several times.
Oh my god. No. Once again, it's really... Rocky 5's not that great, but, like, it makes sense that, like, he immediately comes back and they're like, yeah, no, Ivan Drago messed you up, man. Like, that guy hits like a freight train. You probably shouldn't fight anymore. It's like, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
Man, Ivan Drago just totally beat you up and now you lost all your money.
Yep. Again, because Paulie. But we're not here to talk about...
you're in the poorhouse.
Yep.
And now you're gonna abandon your son to teach this other guy...
to train Tommy Gunn.
And then we're gonna ignore... And then we're gonna kind of address that in Rocky Balboa. And then completely ignore everything in Creed.
Yep. Yeah. Rocky 5, that's such a weird movie in that franchise.
Well, because, like, again, Creed was just a better Rocky 5.
Oh, 100% it was.
I do kind of wish, like, there was a bit of a son drama thing there, but, like, we're kind of getting that in Cobra Kai as well.
Oh, yeah.
Cobra Kai.
Again, we should just talk about Cobra Kai for the next hour, because it's awesome.
But, like, you want to talk about a show that, like, has nostalgia in it, but isn't good because of the nostalgia? Because you would say you're not really connected to the Karate Kid, right?
Oh, no, like, I never really watched the Karate Kid when I was a kid. As it were, I think I finally saw it when I was in, like, college.
I've constantly watched it.
Yeah.
Karate Kid 1 and 2 all the time.
Okay.
Like, just regularly. Like, growing up with my family. Like, it was just a staple. And
as somebody who didn't really have much of a connection... Doesn't have much of a connection to that original movie, other than, oh, it's a really good movie... I thought that Cobra Kai was fantastic. I mean, like, we binged it over, 2 weeks?
Basically, yeah.
Like, and it has really great characters, both new and old. And, like, the TV show starts off with Johnny Lawrence, but then, like, it slowly introduces Daniel, and, like, you see where he is in his life, and, like, it honestly recontextualizes a lot of stuff that people talk about from those original movies and plays off them in a new, interesting way.
Well, like, I always thought that, the whole premise of this was that Danny was going to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
And I love that he wasn't.
No, exactly.
Like, they didn't vilify the hero, but they didn't keep the original villain as the villain.
No, exactly. Well, and, like, they actually, like, do kind of call Danny out on some of the things that, like, he was kind of responsible for as well, and you actually get to see those events from Johnny's perspective.
Yeah, he just poured water on me. I hadn't seen him in, like, 3 months.
It was completely unprovoked. Yeah, I beat him up, so what? We move on. Like, it's really fun. And then, like, you get the new kids like Miguel.
And some high emotion stuff. And
100%. Like, that is a show that, like they call back to, like, pretty much everything. I think the only thing they haven't called back to is, like, the new Karate Kid.
They haven't called back to the next Karate Kid.
The next Karate Kid, yeah.
The Jaden Smith Karate Kid. And they're just getting to Karate Kid 3.
Yes. With the weird billionaire that owned Cobra Kai.
What?
I guess that's a thing in like you find out in Karate Kid 3.
Was that Tommy Silver?
I think so, yeah.
Tommy Silver was a friend of Kreese.
Yes, he was a billionaire that owned Cobra Kai. Like I said, I'm really excited for the next season. But the thing is, the show earns a lot of these moments, and it uses those original movies to build on the story that they're trying to tell now. And even if you haven't seen those original movies, like I've never seen Karate Kid 2 and I've never seen Karate Kid 3, but when they introduce elements of those movies in, they still work even if you know nothing about those original movies. It helps that they show clips and like kind of give you context. But to me, like, that show works. It works just as well if you're a newcomer as well as if you've watched those original movies, which is apparent because of you.
Well, because you never saw the sequel, so all the stuff in Japan.
Yeah, that
all was
Karate
foreign
Kid
to
2.
you, but you still enjoyed the crap out of that, right?
Yeah, no, that was great. Like, you get a completely new scenery. You meet a whole bunch of these new characters. Again, they're new to me, but not new to people who've seen the show originally. Like, it's just very well done, and it doesn't just throw in stuff like the wax on thing. It would make sense that Daniel would use that as a training tactic because that's what his sensei used to train him. Like, a lot of the stuff feels natural to how the story would flow. It's not them just like saying things because, oh, wouldn't it be fun if he said this thing? Like, it feels natural to how the story would flow.
No, exactly. And that's what I like. And so that's the thing. There's really good examples of nostalgia.
Although it's like we mostly talked about like positive examples. I'm trying to think of like.
Well, I think that's the thing that that's my main gripe. It's not that there's a plethora of bad examples of nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's that people use nostalgia as like a buzzword for like, oh, it references old thing, therefore it bad.
Yeah.
Like, and it kind of started like, because South Park did that Member Berries episode,
yes.
which was funny. It was really funny. It was a good episode.
100%.
And like, it had a point. It definitely had a point. But people take things and they run with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, this person pointed out this thing, now I'm going to point it out everywhere I go. Although it's weird because, like, so, like, all these other movies that, like, reference things that are, like, if they're all these movies that are sequels to, like, older franchises.
Yeah.
That reference stuff, that's nostalgia baiting. That's that. But then MCU, it's Easter egg.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, they've been planning this since the first Iron Man. No, they haven't! They're reactionary. They're just really good at covering their tracks.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think they've said just as, at least Kevin Feige has said just as much. Like, there's, like, a very loose idea of where they know where they want to end up, but how they get there is very, like, nebulous and constantly changing. But again, if you're not really looking for that stuff, it's just like, oh man, they've planted so many seeds. Because it's like they could look at something that happened in Iron Man 1 and be like, oh man,
let's bring that back.
Yeah, let's reference that. Like in Shang-Chi, like it's like, oh man, let's bring Ben Kingsley back because it would make sense to bring it back. It's like, oh my god, it's not a setup. It's just, well, actually, I think they did set that up technically in the one short film, didn't they?
They set up something with him, but not for Shang-Chi. It was just going to be in general.
In general, like, oh, this character is still alive and, like, going to potentially meet the real Mandarin, as it were.
Yeah, like that. Like, that's the thing. It's like, there are all these, like, there's these little things, and half the reason they did that short was because Iron Man 3 didn't go over well.
Yeah. Which, again, that's a whole other topic, because I actually really like Iron Man 3, but, like...
But, like, that's kind of the thing, is they're reactionary, and they know what to do. They know to plant a lot of seeds so they can reap what they want.
No,
they're
exactly.
not just planting one crop of apples.
They got a whole orchard.
Well, they have apples, they have oranges, they have bananas, they have grapes, they have everything. They have planted so many things that they can pick and choose whatever they want.
100%.
And go from there. But people see that and they're like, no, that's excellent planning. Whereas if there was more years behind, I guarantee you, if there was like an additional 10 years, like if there's a 10-year gap, like no Marvel movies were made from this point to 10 years.
Oh, jeez, that would never happen.
But that's the thing, is like people of a new generation would be like, oh, they're trying to be nostalgic and reminiscing about the old days. And it's like, no, that's just the Marvel way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
If it's a built-in universe, you're gonna have that stuff. It would be like having an alien movie without a xenomorph. It would be kind of weird.
Yeah, although, again...
Let me clarify. An alien sequel...
Yes.
...without a xenomorph would be weird. A prequel, not so much.
Yeah, because Alien Covenant... Actually, yeah, there we go. I'm gonna rant about this for a second here. Because there's a lot of stuff...
Let's go back to Prometheus first.
Yes, because in Prometheus, like... which is a movie I actually really like. It's actually my 4th favorite Alien movie. If I was ranking them,
I think it is for me too. But I think we flip on 3 and 4.
Yes,
because
you like 4 more than you like 3.
Because 4 is so bad.
Yes,
that's why I love it so much.
It's so bad, like the Power Glove.
It's not good.
Yeah.
But, it works so well, and the color palette's great, and the acting is fun.
Yeah, it's
But it's so not Alien.
Yeah, tonally, it's the biggest shift in that entire franchise. It's a very different beast entirely.
Alien 3, you shouldn't have to rely on assembly cuts for it to be a good movie.
But it certainly did a good job of solidifying the themes of Alien 3 and making it a much more coherent narrative. Anyways... We'll talk about Alien 3 at some point. But with Prometheus, when it came out, I saw it opening night in IMAX and I dug the shit out of it. But some of my friends, they were not as big into it. They liked it visually, but they were kind of disappointed by some, the way the story went and some of the characters, things like that. I've heard every criticism against Prometheus, and some of them I can agree with, and a lot of them I'm like, that's feels like a bit nitpicky. But ultimately, I really like that movie.
What was the argument me and you had about it?
Oh, what was it?
Because we used to have an argument about it. That was really fun.
Because of course there's why didn't they just run to the side? It's just well, I don't know. If there's a giant spaceship that's falling from the sky, right behind you, are you necessarily thinking about where you're going to run next?
Well, that's where ideally, and when people say they should just run sideways, I disagree with that, because you don't know how fast or wide that thing is.
Well,
but
again,
it's
a croissant-shaped ship. You don't know how that thing's going to necessarily land.
Well, that's where for me, I would run still forward, but at an angle, so I'd eventually clear it.
Yeah, exactly. But even then, it could roll. It could do anything. Your brain is literally just gonna go into haul ass mode and try to get as far away as possible.
Oh no, there was a thing that I'm like, this thing bugged me. We debated it for a while.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
I'm trying to think. Either way though. So I really like Prometheus, and ultimately, the thing I appreciated about it is there was, aside from a couple of little things here or there was almost no reference to the xenomorph creature at all. Then you get to Alien Covenant, which it kind of doubles down on a lot of the things that people liked in Prometheus, namely Michael Fassbender. They literally have 2 Michael Fassbenders in the movie, and he's the best part of the film. Go figure. But the movie starts off, and I was really into it. And the movie goes along, again, Act 2, and I'm still kind of digging it. Some of these characters I'm, not vibing with very much, and I still struggle to recall some of the names of the characters, aside from, Danny McBride, because they named him Tennessee, and I actually really like Danny McBride in the movie as well. But, then there was literally, and I saw it with Ethan and another friend of ours, Jordan, and they were sitting next to me, and there was a certain point in the movie where my energy changed the room, because I was like, oh god, they're not going there, are they? And then sure enough, they bring out the alien egg. There's a whole room full of the alien eggs, and it's oh, oh, great! I'm just so happy that this is where we're going.
I created them.
And it's like, oh, I guess the terror of the galaxy, the xenomorph, was created by a bored android on a deserted planet.
Technically created by man.
Yeah, right. I just love the idea that this cosmic horror entity, the xenomorph, was created by a bored robot from Earth. That really just ties it all together, doesn't it? But they do that, and then like the movie simultaneously starts trying to be aliens, but then they remake Alien in the last like 10 minutes of the movie, and all that stuff I absolutely just hated. And I was like, you had a pretty good thing going here, and then you completely loused it up by just...
Well, like the backburster had you intrigued.
Oh yeah, well that was a completely different thing. Like the neomorphs or whatever they're called. Like I was like, it's like alien
aliens with like the weird round mouths.
Yeah, again, like it's alien adjacent. Still feels very like H.R. Geiger inspired, and like it felt like in that same world, but it wasn't the xenomorph, you know. And I was fine with that. Like that's kind of the promise at the end of Prometheus had with the Deacon alien verse. You know, it's like, okay, we're gonna do other creatures that kind of like will like be traces of the xenomorph, but we're not gonna have the xenomorph in these movies. And like again, when I saw the title was gonna be Alien Covenant, it's like, okay, I guess we're just gonna abandon this storyline, and they completely do. But to me, instead of just committing pardon me.
Should be.
Instead of just committing to the story you wanted to tell and kind of going in this like cosmic horror epic where we're going to explore the origins of humanity and why like the engineers wanted to kill us, all this stuff. Instead, we're just gonna sweep that under the rug and we're gonna bring the xenomorph back because people were mad that the xenomorph wasn't in the movie. It's like there was maybe like a small minority of people that wanted Prometheus to be a direct Alien prequel. Like, and I'm not going to say there are people who wanted that, for sure. And I think at one point it was going to be. But then the idea that we're going to explore kind of like this universe and not really connect it back to the xenomorph, at least until like maybe a bit later on, really intrigued me, and I thought that was going to be a really cool ride to go on because I love the Alien universe. The technology is really cool, like the general design of like the creatures, all that stuff. The space jockey is a really interesting thing to explore, and tying it all into like ancient god theory and things like that. I found all this stuff really fascinating, and then they like immediately sweep all that stuff under the rug because they're like, oh man, people had a mixed reaction with this. Throw the xenomorph back in. And that to me is a bad use of a property and is very much nostalgia bait. Like they threw the xenomorph into every single bit of advertising. Like if it was just called like, if they just called it Covenant and they just kind of like kept it kind of a mystery like Prometheus was, and then like maybe like exact same movie, and then like the xenomorph still showed up, I'd still be like, oh come on guys, do we really need this in the movie? But at least I would still have that mystery slowly unravel for me. But at the end of the day, there was no reason why the xenomorph creature needed to be in the second movie in this franchise.
Yeah.
It's not the story that they were setting up. It's not what I came to the movie for. But because fans got upset about it, they just backed off and they tried to do another Alien movie. And by proxy, they ended up doing a worse version of the Alien and used it terribly. Like, again, there's literally, like, in the end of the movie, like, the spaceship scene, there's, like, a Friday the 13th scene where an alien kills two people in a shower. And it's like, there's no... Again, like, I'm not saying you can't do a scene like that in an Alien movie, but it really just tonally, compared to, like, the more philosophical, like, creation, like, myth and reality, science and God stuff that they were doing at the start of the movie and in Prometheus, and then you compare that to where they go at the end of the movie, it's just highly disappointing and like immediately deflated any interest I had in seeing a follow-up. So like it's just, to me, that is a bad example of bringing something back just for the sake of, oh well, people like the xenomorph. So there was no need for it, and it felt forced. So sorry, I feel like that was a bit of a rant there, but
No, it was a good rant.
I got very strong feelings about the Alien franchise. So you've addressed Star Wars to death as far as this conversation's concerned, so I don't think we necessarily need to cover it.
Right? And like there's not much more I can really say on it other than like there's good nostalgia, there's bad nostalgia. I think people need to stop using that as like the catch-all term for bad callbacks.
No, exactly.
Like, because I feel nostalgic about things, and I don't think that's a bad feeling to feel.
No. Well, and ultimately, like, if you're going into another movie, like specifically a sequel to a movie, there is a part of you that, like, ultimately you want to see a new story with, like, these characters or within this world. So, yeah, like, the idea that you're not going to see things that were in a movie that came before, like, it's kind of ludicrous. Like, you are literally asking for more of the thing that you liked the first time, just a little bit different. And whenever you can get that in a really good and smart way, where it actually feels like something new in this world and not just the same thing I got last time, but slightly different.
Well, that's half the problem is people want the same, but they want different. They want the exact same movie, but they don't want that movie. It can't deviate from that movie at all, but it can't be the same movie either.
It's got to be different, but not too different. And it's got to have new ideas, but not too new. And it's like...
But it can't be the same, because that's boring and predictable, and it's like...
Yeah. But also, if it completely surprises me, I'm going to be disappointed because I couldn't predict it. Like, it's basically like...
Yeah, people trying to outsmart movies is crazy.
Yeah, like, and it's like, I try not to go into a movie just expecting that I'm going to know what's going to happen. It's bad, like, again, I do, just because, again, we've made movies and, like, we've done some writing, like, we've analyzed how stories are put together, so we already have enough trouble turning our brains off to enjoy a story and, like, trying not to predict what's going to come next. I don't need to overanalyze a movie before, like, based on trailers and, like, speculation videos before I go and see the movie, because it's like, ultimately I want to experience it as I'm watching it.
I agree with you about the trailer thing. I disagree with you about we have experience writing, therefore we have trouble watching that stuff, because, like, at the end of the day, we're still very new to this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like, I don't have problems turning off my brain at all. Like, there's things I pick up on and notice, but, like...
Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to claim that I'm, like, an expert of, like, story structure. Like, God, I'm definitely not an expert at all. But it's like, when you do spend a bit of time doing that stuff, like, you do start to pick up on things here or there.
I think it's less about doing it and just, like, the amount that we've immersed ourselves into movies in general.
Yeah.
Because even growing up, watching the behind-the-scenes features of things...
Yeah.
And the more you pay attention to that stuff, the more stories you know. Yeah, you'd notice things.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like, that's also the thrill of it for me.
Mm.
And it gets exciting to notice those things.
Yeah. Well, I guess it also, like, I guess it has less to do with, like, your brain predicting things while you're watching it, because naturally, like, your brain will do that, and, like, trying to figure out every single thing that's going to happen in the movie before you watch it because, oh, I can be the person who points it out, you know?
Yeah, and I think that I very much am anti that. That's where, like, I think I've seen the main Spider-Man trailers, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of do that with Marvel stuff, too. I watch, like, 1 or 2 trailers, and that's it. If I hear anyone talking about it, I skip it immediately, like...
Because I want to be surprised. I want to go into something and enjoy it and just like go on the ride.
I want to go in with as little expectations as possible, because if I have a bunch of boxes that I need checked when I go into this movie, then I'm gonna end up disappointed.
No, exactly. The only checkbox I have for No Way Home is hoping that Bonesaw shows up.
I don't think he's gonna show up.
I feel like this, really what the movie needs at the end of the day.
Bonesaw is gonna be ready.
He's not gonna be... Bonesaw's not ready!
He's dead.
Oh. Well, no,
You keep wishing for Macho Man Randy Savage to come back, and we all know that that's not going to happen until the world ends.
All right, that's when he shall return. It's actually like the Bible's not predicting the return of Jesus; it's the return of Macho Man.
Oh no, like Jesus will be there too, but he's bringing Macho Man.
Oh,
he's
Jesus and the Macho Man will form the new Mega Powers. I'd be down for that.
Look, Hulkster, I found a new brother.
Brother. And I formed the holy Mega Powers. Ooh. Ah, Jesus.
Ooh, exactly.
Miss you, Macho Man. Anyway, this podcast will be dedicated to Macho Man Randy Savage.
A little late, don't you think?
Yeah. Anyway, who's got a question of the day?
I wonder if Matt has a question of the day ready to do.
Oh my god. Matt Ayalew coming back with the... started talking like a wrestling announcer. Oh my god, Matt Ayalew enters the arena.
People's elbow!
Oh.
Woo!
You get down here. So question of the day, I got one that I think could be pretty fun.
Could it be?
I sure hope so.
Is it?
Since we are talking about like nostalgia to a certain extent and just like continuations, things like that, what is a movie that you really enjoy that you would have loved to have seen a sequel to, but just never got one?
It's a good question.
Yeah. Like, I already got an answer if you want to have some time to think about it.
Yes.
So for me, a movie that I really enjoy that, like, it feels criminal that never got a sequel. Again, like, I say criminal, but really it's like, it is what it is. But the slasher movie, My Bloody Valentine, I'm pretty sure I've gotten to talk about it before. But it's a Canadian slasher film, came out a little after Friday the 13th. And to me, like, it was probably one of the most brutal movies that came out from that time. It got chopped to hell, of course, by the MPAA, but there's an unrated version now. And, like, that movie, it's weird that, like, it did well, but never got a sequel follow-up. And it's kind of in a similar vein to Scream, in that the killer, it's not like they have, like, a central killer like a Jason or a Freddy. It's just a costume that, like, a person dons to continue murdering people. So really, like, you could have done a whole movie following up where, like, somebody else is, like, wearing the minor armor and murdering people. Apparently the director had an idea for a sequel where, like, after the second series of murders, the town was starting to, like, lose tourism, things like that. So their solution for this is they turn part of the mine into a thrill ride based on the legend of Harry Warden, and kind of bring a bit more of that idea of, like, kind of trying to sweep things under the rug or, like, taking advantage of a situation. Like, having, like, that to me would be fun because I've never seen a movie like that before where they, like, take a place that, like, this horrible thing happened in, and they're like, let's turn it into a theme park. Like, I feel like there might be a movie like that now, but, like, that would have been a really interesting, different way to do a sequel to a slasher that isn't just, and now they're murderizing again. So, that I think would be fun. Doing a My Bloody Valentine 2. Or seeing a Dog Soldiers 2, I think would have been fun too. But, like, that movie, Dog Soldiers did not do great at the time, so that one makes a bit more sense. But see another movie with seeing those werewolves again, things like that, that could have been fun. And you know what, they could have done a sequel to The Howling. I think that could have been really cool.
They did several.
Oh, what?
Yep.
They made other movies in the Howling franchise?
Yes. Exclusively.
Oh God.
It's a weird left field answer, but that's also, I can't really think of any other ones. But Daybreakers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like, oh, man.
Because then, like, even if we just got one other movie that wrapped up the story,
yeah, because
I would have been content with that.
Well, because Daybreakers ends at a really interesting point. Like you kind of know what's going to happen.
It drove me bonkers because it, like, yeah, we're gonna win, and then they just reset them back to where they were in the middle of the film.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I really wish that just got a sequel just to give me an ending.
Well,
it's a lame answer. It's a totally lame answer, but...
I mean, there's no such thing as lame answers in A Feast of Films. I just asked for a sequel to an 80s slasher film, for Christ's sake.
And I, Matt Ayalew, would love a sequel to Meet the Spartans. I love that movie. Riddly-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Wow, Matt, that's a really off-the-wall choice, but I can respect it.
I think you should, because I'm Matt Ayalew, and I sure love Meet the Spartans.
Yeah, but oh, man, Daybreakers is so good. We should do a podcast.
Priest would also be...
Oh, man. Because that one was Carl Urban, though Carl Urban got killed in that one.
No.
Is he still?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, do it now.
Well, with Paul Bettany's and Carl Urban's star power.
Yeah, man. Let's petition.
I am shocked that you didn't say Dread.
Oh God! How did I not think of that of all films? I think at this point,
My Bloody Valentine.
Well, I think at this point I've just given up. I gave up on Dreads 2 so hard that like I don't even think about asking for a sequel anymore. What that movie is a tragedy that never got a follow up. It's so good.
I know I have several ideas for them. I just can't think of any.
Right.
X-Men First Class would be great if it had a sequel.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it would have been great to have seen those versions of the characters get a continuation.
As
really
opposed to,
really get to flesh them out. And...
Yeah, instead of just like, well, remember I made X-Men movies years ago. Ooh.
Oh my God. Yeah.
There's a lot of sequels that should exist that don't. And that's okay.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if a franchise gets to be a thing, and you're lucky enough to get one or two really good movies that follow that up, I'd say that's pretty good.
But not everything needs to be a franchise either.
Yep, not everything needs a sequel, not everything needs to be remade. But at the end of the day, if it does get remade, doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing right out the gate.
Exactly. Well, I think that sums up another episode of Feast of Film. Mr. Prosser, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at thatjprosser. You can find my YouTube at Jesse Prosser, just my name. Look it up on YouTube. I got some short films there. And then you can find Ethan and I's feature film, Damned Rights, on realhouse.org. Give it a rent, give it a buy, support us, see what you think.
Yeah.
Where can they find you, Ethan?
You can find me at Ethan R. Hill on Instagram. You can find me at Ethan R. Hill on YouTube. And you can find our film where Mr. Prosser said.
And you can find Matt Ayalew's stuff on all the previous videos where I said it, because I don't remember everything. Something to do with gaming nights.
Gaming Night Radio.
Gaming Night Radio? That's a great name. Someone should have that as a podcast.
Indeed. Oh, what a great idea, Matt Ayalew.
I am Matt Ayalew, signing off. Woohoo!
Good night, everyone.
Have a good week, everybody.
So long.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo!
Matt's gonna love us.
Oh, it's gonna be great.